So tonight is my final night in Panama City, Panama, and I want to just, in a few days, I'll have videos that come out specifically about this trip. But in my final night, right before I go out to get something to eat and walk along that little walkway where you can see the city, I just wanted to make and upload this video, and I just wanted to let you all know that I am not someone. I have discovered through this trip, and I knew this intuitively, but I've discovered that through this trip, I'm someone that likes to learn Spanish for the fun of it, for the fulfillment of it, for the use of it outside of strictly travel. Now, why do I say that? I, again, am going to come out with videos specifically talking about my experience here in Panama, specifically talking about the people, the vibe, the weather, all that kind of stuff. I'll come out with a video about that. But I did want to just talk about something that I was reflecting on tonight. And again, what I was reflecting on was the fact that I get, I don't get, it's not that I get zero satisfaction from this, but I don't get any more satisfaction flying 3 hours away from my home and using the Spanish language compared to using it in my local community, helping parents and helping students and helping people that are tourists that come into the city. Like, I don't personally get any more fulfillment using the language itself domestically versus internationally. Like, I know that a common theme amongst language learners, and ironically, it's actually not as common as you would think. Like the big language learners, they always talk about this being a misnomer, like learning a language simply for travel. Like Steve Kaufman and Luca and all these guys, they talk about how this is not why they learn languages. Like they learn it for the fun of it, for its use in their lives. And so, long story short, I learned through this trip that I'm someone that likes to learn the Spanish language, and I will continue to learn it, but not for the sole purpose of traveling. So when I got here, the last international trip that I took to a Spanish speaking country was, I want to say, close to 3 years ago. No, literally 3 years ago at this point, when I went to Peru. And even then, 3 years ago, again, imagine how much my Spanish has improved. Even then, I started to notice how the novelty of speaking Spanish in a foreign country had worn off, right? Guys, this time, and again, I'll have videos about my first impressions and everything coming out. This time, that novelty is completely gone. It's completely gone. Like, it's completely gone. Leaving this apartment, leaving this hotel, and going to El Mercado de Mariscos and talking to the people is going to give me the same feeling that would give me going to Pont City Market in Atlanta and ordering food and talking to some people. Like, the social interaction is great and it's beneficial, but the use of the language itself is minuscule in terms of satisfaction. And so I'm making this video as a precursor to the other videos that I'm going to come out with. And again, the intent with this video is my last night in Panama. I'm about to go out and hopefully get more footage, but the intent is just to let you guys know that at the close of my trip, I know this is kind of weird that my first video about the country and my experience here is the last day. And I have some super cool stories that I did not get a chance to record, but I think the story times will suffice, because in these crazy situations that I've placed myself in, honestly, here in Panama, the Spanish language is what facilitated those things. So that these things were cool, but they would have been cool had they happened in Texas, had they happened in Florida, had they happened in Georgia. And so again, I'm making this video just to say, you need to figure out what kind of language learner you are. I just discovered from this trip that I love being able to come out of my house, go down the street, and use Spanish, or meet someone that's lost and they're not bilingual in the United States, and help them using the Spanish that I've learned. I just have learned that through this trip, because it didn't really do anything for me linguistically. Again, I have some funny stories that I can take away, very funny stories. Again, very funny, scary, um, nail biting stories. Very nail biting. In retrospect, funny, but they cost me some money, like extra money, and they were dangerous. Like, I don't want to exaggerate, but some could even say, even some Panamanians possibly life threatening, and it was possibly even more life threatening had I not had a guardian angel or someone to save me just by coincidence. Pedro, muchas gracias. Yo sé que no vas a ver el video, pero muchas gracias. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point. the other point that I wanted to make is that part of my experience here in Panama, learning somebody by the name of Jay Focused. He has a YouTube channel that I used to watch. He's currently traveling in Africa, but he learned Spanish as well, and he traveled through Latin America, and I think from what I remember from his channel is he spent a lot of time in Argentina. And in one of my recent videos, he commented on how improving your Spanish to a certain point is a double-edged sword. And the reason he said that is because when your Spanish gets to a point where it is very fluent and you can kind of be perceived as someone from the country that you're visiting, people talk to you and treat you in the same way that they treat any other person, which, in depending on the country, could be good, could be bad. It just depends. But you're not going to get, not that we want to abuse or take advantage of any kind of foreigner privilege, but I'm just saying you get kind of treated like like everybody else, which again could be good, bad, right or wrong, depending on the country. And here in Panama, depending on where I am, if I'm in a super touristy area, a lot of times people are looking at me like he's not from here. You know what I mean? They can kind of tell. But if I go to different parts of the city, people are speaking to me and assuming that I'm Panamanian, and I know that because I've spoken to some people and they've been asking me like, "Are you from Cologne?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Where are you from?" And so when they find out, they're like, "Oh, really? Wow. Okay." And again, not based on how I speak, but maybe how I'm carrying myself. And if I say little small phrases, they won't know. And I have a story time that's going to come out that's going to confirm what I'm saying to you guys. But either way, that also has made the experience somewhat blah. Like, it's not bad. It's not amazing either. And again, when I'm talking about the experience, I've got some lifelong memories from this 5-day trip here in Panama. But what I'm talking about here specifically is linguistically, right? Linguistically, the fun of learning a language itself. I'm not talking about the experiences outside of that. And again, somebody could argue, well, those things are interconnected. You can't separate the two. I get it, but you guys know what I mean. There is a fun element to using the Spanish language. But at my stage of Spanish at this point, it's gone away. It's a double-edged sword. You want to improve. You want to increase your fluency. But with that comes less novelty, less excitement al uso del idioma, right? It just kind of becomes bland. And so I am going to go out, if possible. I'll show you guys some interactions with some of the locals. A lot of the Panamanian locals, and again, I'm going to talk about this in a video, they're not giving "I want to be on camera" foreigner. And the few that have, a lot of the people that I've been able to interview, I think based on their accents, are not even from Panama. I know a couple of them are from Panama. Like I talked to some Costa Ricans, I think some Venezuelans. I talked to a couple of Panamanians, but they're just kind of like focused and in their own world and on the go. And so again, I'll talk about all that later, but hopefully I can get some footage for you guys. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know that speaking the language in itself, I suspected this. You guys don't know this, but I almost canceled this trip last minute. Nothing against Panama, right? But I don't know anyone here, and I knew my intuition told me, like, Mike, just going there and speaking Spanish is not going to do it for you. Like, it's not. It's not. What does it for you is sitting on your back porch, reading a book and learning new words. Like, that does it for you. Or I'm repeating myself. So I'm going to go out now. Hopefully I can get some conversations with the local Panamanians. Guys, I have more stories to tell you from this trip than I have footage, but I think the stories, along with some screenshots that I'll include from WhatsApp and some pictures and things like that, it'll still be an interesting series of videos about my trip to Panama. But I just wanted to let you guys know this, give you a quick update on my last day before I start going into the series of videos that I'll have coming out to describe my trip. And so let me know if you guys relate. You also have to keep in mind that before learning Spanish, and right now I've turned back into this, I was a typical gringo. I've mentioned this before. A resort in Jamaica was my ideal vacation. Going on a 4-day cruise to the Caribbean was my ideal vacation. Going on a little quick cruise to the Yucatan in Mexico and coming back was my ideal vacation. What sparked an interest in travel was the fact, like, what excited me about it was being able to take this language go somewhere else and use it and defend myself. Guys, I can do that. I've taken the metro. I took the metro in this city all around, like literally all around. I took the metro, like figured it out myself. I'm communicating with people, asking people to let me buy on the bus. Took the metro, took the bus. I'm doing everything in Spanish. Like it's not any different than English. Like it's not. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't scratch the itch. And so yeah, hopefully this video wasn't all over the place and it again gave you a little insight into my experience. Panama was cool. No disrespect to Panama. It was cool. Um, but again, the language in itself, using it just internationally just because it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. I'm about to turn back into a typical gringo. Um, I'm just being honest. I feel that evolution happening. Again, I still like traveling and all that, but traveling particularly for the use of the language just doesn't do it for me. So yeah, I hope you guys espero que esperen con ansias por el próximo video. I hope you guys are I hope you guys are I'm thinking in Spanish. That's the other thing that happens when you're here all day speaking Spanish. But I hope you guys are ready, basically for this Panama series. Again, I didn't do the best job of recording, but I think it will still be insightful, especially the story times. Guys, I could have been killed, robbed, extorted, and I'm not exaggerating. Some people may gaslight me and say I am, but when I tell you the story and I give you the context, you'll know what I'm talking about. Also, one thing I would like to add here is that, again, part of this is because there was only one instance during my entire 5-day stay here in Panama where I didn't understand what someone was telling me. And it wasn't because I didn't understand the words that she was using. I just wasn't familiar with the promotion that she was talking to me about. So basically, I was at a gas station getting some water and some cashews, and the girl at the register basically said the equivalent of something like this in English, like something that we would all know. But again, if you're living in Guatemala and you come to the States and you've been learning English for 5 years, it would be hard for you to catch when somebody says this just casually, as if you're from the United States. Would you also like to get the BOGO deal? Did you guys catch what I said? They look at you after you check out and then they say, would you also like the BOGO deal? Or they say something like, would you also like to donate for the children feed, these little organizations that they ask you at grocery stores and stuff like that. Stuff that as a native English speaker who lives in the United States, you'd recognize. Well, somebody who, even no matter how good their English is, they might struggle understanding that. The equivalent happened to me in a gas station. So she was asking me about some kind of promotion that Panamanian gas stations have, that brand of gas station. I think it might have been a card or a token or something. You check off a certain number of things. I don't know, but I just wasn't familiar with it. And she was like, es una promoción. And I was like, oh, okay, ja, okay. I no gracias. So yeah.